Yeah, this truly is a beautiful piece of woodland I'm in. And at the very top there's a mixture of natural deciduous woods mixed in with some of the commercial varieties. But this doesn't really see a lot of influence of man because it's too steep and there isn't enough wood of commercial use for anything to happen in this part. And indeed it's kind of left pretty much untouched, and hopefully it will stay that way. The woodland is a beautiful place to be, and it definitely is being utilised more by various people conducting various activities. But the woods do come with some dangers, and I would like to share them with you. Well, I'm in a piece of the forest which has got commercial trees for lumber, and indeed they will at some point be harvested. They're of substantial size. There's nothing really to say that they wouldn't be taken tomorrow, but I should suspect they'd want to leave them for a good few many years to get the most they can from them. You would assume though that trees are permanent features. You would assume that in nature they're about as rock solid and as reliable a feature on the landscape as you can get within nature itself. And you'd assume that they're a permanent feature, but you would be wrong. There is evidence that trees have been harvested and taken many years ago from here, and indeed if you look around, and I'll walk up here, you can see the remnants of tree stumps in the ground, and indeed one there. That hasn't snapped. A chainsaw has done that. You can see that's gone through, and indeed there's another one up there. Trees have been harvested, and there's another one over there. They have been harvested here. These are not the the result of man-made destruction. This is wind, storm damage that's just gone through. There's two trees there, fit, healthy, living trees that have been taken over by the storms that have gone through Cornwall just recently. And this is what you're looking at. You can see these trees, particularly the commercial varieties, they don't have big root balls and they don't throw a big substantial amount of roots too far into the ground. You can see one there that's just been pulled out down the bottom there. This one. And you can see there's been a big, huge amount of, this was probably something attached to this old system here, which this was underpinned by, and it's just literally ripped it out the ground as it's gone over. But you can see there's a lot of shellet and loose stone in there, and indeed there's not a huge root ball going deep or even far out underneath anything of any real substantial depth and ability to hold the tree down when it gets hit by a storm. So from where they've gone over, you can see quite clearly they've covered a substantial piece of ground. Right, the canopies is all green. It is actually beginning to turn because obviously it's dead. But as you can see from down there, it has thrown a considerable distance for that tree to actually cover to get this far. And you can see the canopies there resting on the ground. The factors here that you must consider you know, is you should not be in the woods in high winds, one, and two, if you are, you have no guarantee which tree is going to go over. Now, if you're going to like a native woodland, you could then have to consider limbs just cracking and dropping off. You do still hear in like these forests like pine and commercial woodlands, you will still have limbs coming down, but here you're more likely to see the whole tree go over. They still do in our native woodland trees, they will still go over as well, but as I've shown you here, you have no idea when that tree is going to go, and when it goes, it will cover a huge span of ground. You do not want to be in any vicinity near that. There is the other factor when you look down to towards the root ball, you know, that you do have that issue of springback. I've never personally seen that. I've seen trees go over, but I've heard about situations where the roots will actually pull the tree back under certain circumstances. So that tree can actually do a cantilever. It's gone over, and then mechanisms will actually fly the tree back up over, and it will do that before going over again. You don't want to be down by that root ball until, or you definitely know that that area doesn't have any tension or spring left in that root system which could pull that tree back up. Like I said, I've never witnessed that. I've witnessed trees going over, but I do know that is a factor that can happen, and people have always said if you're camping in the woods and a tree's gone over, try not to camp in the shadow of the root ball, because there's a danger you could be trapped. As the tree springs back up, the root ball holds you down. This tree here is dead, and it was standing dead. There was nothing alive on it. You can see the canopy was dead. Something killed this tree long before the wind took it down, but it obviously came down the same as the two I've shown you. This tree has also gone down and it's gone down in the direction of the prevailing wind and storms we've had, like its fellow Ulatu trees. The difference being this one's dead, and you would possibly look at this one and say I'm not going to camp near it, but which makes it even more dangerous when you realise good solid healthy trees can go over in storms like what we've just said. Yet again, there is no real system of roots here, and as you can see, when this one went over, everything here is rotten. The tree was dead. It stood no chance, and it was lucky that it stood up for as long as it did. But obviously, as you can see, there was nothing really down here of any substantial root system holding this. And yet again, you wouldn't want to be, shall we say, hanging around too much under this, because I can clearly see the root system here is actually totally rotted and gone. But if there was any mechanism there that could spring back with the root ball and come back down around, you don't want to be there. And I've always my advice is always to stay away from the root balls on trees that have gone over. People will probably be looking at me saying, well, that's just Billy Basics, you don't go into a woods or camp anywhere in a woods when there's storms or anything like that. But realistically, people still do. My only point in this pointing out those trees going over is trees may look fit, healthy, and look like they are permanently there because obviously you've got a green canopy, everything's looking good. They can still give way under the storm conditions. Always be aware of that when you're in the woods. This is Andy from Folklore Hiking Sticks. Take care and stay safe in the woods.